Coming up on Added Time.
Look, they say a week's a long time in politics, in football today.
And I think we've lost that depth of absolute brilliance.
It's a factor because the world opens up. He's 18.
Right, Vinny, some people are more talented than others.
You know, what did Donald Rumsfeld say? Unknown unknowns? I got no idea.
A really fast French footballer is the best male player in the world. Ballon d'Or winner. Not Mbappe. Dembele. Is it fair, Foz? You love the guy. You called it, actually, after the Champions League final last year.
Well, it wasn't difficult to call, was it?
Best player in the world? Is that a fair label?
Best performing player in the world in the last 12 months, I think, probably. Best player in the world? No, I think ll is the best player in the world. And that's the challenge that you have with this award, is that it's individual performances, collective, meaning team performance as well as fair play, character and these types of things which are allowed to come into it. So I think he was the obvious choice simply because, they had won the treble, his performances in the Champions League were amazing. Winning that was key to him achieving it. If Yamal had won the Champions League, he would have won it hands down. So there's always a debate as to whether you just should select who is, in your view, the best player. But of course, the best players in the world also usually at the best teams and are expected to carry their teams to the biggest trophies. That's the tension in the award. When it came down to it, obviously I used to be a judge, I would have had those two. I would have had Virginia very, very close as well, to be honest with you.
He was third, wasn't it?
He was third. But in the end, I would say I probably would have gone with Dembele.
Well, journalists are never wrong. They vote on this award. Isn't that right, Vince? So, I mean, it's hard to argue this guy, and you love an award given out to a guy who's got a backstory like this because he's had these ones all through, and even through last season when Luis Enrique said, don't even bother coming to London for the Arsenal game because you're annoying me. You haven't lived up to team standards. And within 7 months, he ends up doing what he's done.
And that's why I love that he won it. I think it was, for me, a toss-up between him and Yamal, but I love a good story, evidently, as a journalist. But this one in particular just shows, for me, you can't write off players. We're very quick sometimes in football to say, oh, he's trash, or... you put in a stinker in a World Cup final like Dembele did, and that, I think it was called unworthy of a World Cup final, and you got, denigrators and all that, and it just shows things can turn. And I love to see a late blossoming player like that, get the accolades they deserve for a fantastic season.
Does PSG win the Champions League without him last season and his form?
No, and PSG rightfully scooped a lot, Paris, and Vince is right, and so is Craig. Look, they say a week's a long time in politics. In football, it's a day. PSG scooped a lot, and they wouldn't have won that Champions League without Gianluigi Donnarumma, who won the Lev Yashin Award, best goalkeeper. They also wouldn't have won it, obviously, with Dembele. Vitinha's another one. You could go through that whole team. And obviously the manager, Luis Enrique, as well. Absolutely outstanding achievement. And for me, there's no complaints. As I think not only, a little bit, similar to what Foz was saying, be brilliant, yes. And remember, it's over a calendar year, which he was. He surpassed all expectations, after a really slow start. He scored more goals last year than he did in his first 2 seasons at Paris. And he's always had that ability. Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund, even at Rennes, that's why he was first signed by Borussia Dortmund, because they saw something in him. But no one could really get the best out of him until Luis Enrique did. So he was absolutely outstanding. And the one defining moment, funny enough for me last season, was not his goals, was not his assist, was in the final when the cameras panned on me. I think it might have been the first half when they won that final against Inter Milan 5-0. And he was like a sprinter getting ready for 100 metres just to go and close down.
Every time they try and play
That really typified the change that's occurred under Luis Enrique. And also Bonmetti, Alte Bonmetti, the women's...
Bonmetti.
Yeah, congratulations.
3 in a row now for her.
Yeah, congratulations to her as well. We saw her here at the World Cup. She was absolutely outstanding, so congratulations.
Yeah, and Arsenal, the women's 2025 Team of the Year. So we obviously got 3 Aussies in there. Steph, Kyra and Caitlin.
And Steph Catley as well. Congratulations.
I think she was 29th.
Correct, of the all-time list.
Which we'll take.
You know what? Even being in there,
100%.
It's a great
How many
achievement.
Aussies have been on that list, men and women?
Very few.
In the top 10,
especially in the men.
Top 10 defenders as well.
Yeah. So I mean, it also shows you how good Sam Kerr was. Let's hope she's as good post-injury. But she was in top 3 multiple times. People don't realise how incredible that is.
We were desensitised to that, I think,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it was happening so often.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Lamine Yamal, back to the men's one. How many does he end up winning? So he's got a 15-year career ahead of him. Would you say 7, 6?
I don't think not only himself, but I don't think even like making predictions like that does him any favours, and I don't think he'll be thinking about that. But what he will be thinking about is how many Champions Leagues can I win? How many La Ligas can I win? They come so close in what was one of the greatest, I think, two-legged ties that I've ever seen in European football history. That 7-6 that they lost to Inter Milan. That will be the main cause for him. Because individual awards, in my opinion, from football come secondary to what your team does.
The guy who presented or announced the award for this year's ceremony, Ronaldinho, who you could argue that if it wasn't for his outside of football lifestyle, perhaps would have pressed for more awards, more accolades, but hey, he enjoyed himself, so that's the main thing. That's all you can do in life. Lamine Yamal, I can't say definitively this could be this kid's danger. However, it's a factor because the world opens up. He's 18.
Yeah.
The world's going to open up to him in more ways than he knew existed. Is that the danger?
So, the thing about Ronaldinho and many others is when you kind of have, Messi coming through or, other great players of the era, it is difficult to win these, and then you had Ronaldo and Messi competing against each other. And one thing that we did all do this morning or yesterday was have a look at the current top 30 of men and compare it to sometimes in the past. I do think that is a worry. We used to have at times the top 10 of the Ballon d'Or was just unbelievable. You would genuinely say any of those top 10 would be a worthy winner. And I think we've lost that depth of absolute brilliance. And in fact, I would say, Dembele, for example, even on his performances of last year, he wouldn't have won it in any of those years.
Is that the morphing of athleticism and football then, in your opinion?
I think it might be. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about it. I think we were very fortunate to live through the Messi era, and of course Ronaldo also won 5 as a real, he was the opposite. He was a machine. He built himself into something extraordinary. But we had a Messi who was just a gift, and Yamal is the closest thing too. That's why I would have liked Yamal to have won more and won it this year, because I think he's the one that is the great hope for that level of invention that you have. Dembele, amazing, but again, if you went back through all the Ballon d'Ors, I'm not sure how many he would have won. I mean, Platini won 3 straight. I mean, you're talking about people who really defined the game, and Dembele is not doing that, right? So I think there are, for all of us, there are some concerns about where we're going. I mean, who else aside from Yamal are we looking at in the world now saying, okay, 18 years old, and just saying, wow, he could step into those shoes of the greats to have gone before? I mean, who else is there? I think he's pretty much the only one at the moment.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm a bit not concerned, because it's just evolution, isn't it? That athleticism becomes such a key factor that Dembele, we brought it up here about his key factors. How many of those Ballon d'Or winners before would you go, geez, he was great off the ball, and geez, he was an awesome pressing player? Now, they had that in their locker.
Evolution of football. But it's going to happen more and more. Evolution of football. It's just fact. Right, Vinny? Some people are more talented than others. Others try to make up for it in other ways, the athleticism side. It's always been a fact of our game. I understand it's the evolution of the game too.
Yeah. And every action has a opposite reaction and all that, and we can't have. I'm a little bit more relaxed about it. I think football will continue. There will be responses to the way players operate, teams operate, and then we'll see things that. What did Donald Rumsfeld say? Unknown unknowns? I got no idea. But I'm excited to see what happens in the future.
We don't know what we don't know.
Donald Rumsfeld getting a mention at a time. So I'm sure he's watching.
Jeez.
Donnie, all listening.
I'm not sure about the timing of that. We'll have to talk about that later. But listen...
passed away,
it's a half a chance that he hasn't.
The other thing is for Australia, I think the question for us is always, let's take our domestic lens and say, okay, the thing about Yamal in particular is that he's 18. He could well have won this. I think he's going to win at least 3 or 4 in his time. And, where are our 18-year-olds? Like, this is the measure, of global top elite level of football, and also the way he plays, the way he's able to express himself in those big moments, which comes to his personality that you're talking about. It does show that, you know, we're some way off that. You know, we're getting excited about our next generation, very excited. But our plan should be to be competing at this level with our young players coming through.
I've got to ask Bozza, is a goalkeeper ever going to win this award?
Well, Lev Yashin won it before, so...
Again, I should say.
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, like I said to you before, if it wasn't for Donnarumma, that's why I was so surprised when Paris were happy.
Was he on this list?
I don't know what he was on the list, but he won the Lev Yashin award. But the most important thing was, without him, they don't win that Champions League. And you've seen the effect he's already had at Manchester City.
We have. Victor Gyökeres wins the Gerd M&uuml trophy, named after the great German striker. I don't know. I get it. He won it. He scored over 60 goals in all competitions for Sporting. However, is it fair that that's measured on an equal measure to a guy that's pumped 40 goals through in a season in the Premier League, even France, all of those things, with all due respect to the Portuguese league?
I think it is.
That's fair.
The bottom line is it's a phenomenal record wherever it is. So, I don't think you can complain about that. It's understandable to have that thought, and we'll talk about that when we're talking about places that you've managed in, when we start to reference Ange later on. Understandable that people raise that question, but that's just an absolutely phenomenal goal record. And not only that as well, it wasn't just in the Portuguese league, it was also in the Champions League as well.
Still to come on Added Time.
But Marinakis needs results along the way as well, and that's what makes it difficult.
Vince is certainly hoping he gets things going for a reissue of the book.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Fair call.
A part of that group too that just don't like you no matter what you do.
Yeah, scored a couple in that. Ange Ball. Let's get to Ange now. Did we see progression against Burnley? I mean, Dubravka, he could be nominated for the Yashin Award after his damn performance at Turf Moor. He was simply outstanding, the Burnley goalkeeper. But for Nottingham Forest and what Ange is doing after one whole week of training and a few games thrown in, was there signs?
It's a little bit more like the start of Ange tenures that we know versus, you know, the 10 games unbeaten at the start of his time at Spurs. That was an anomaly in his coaching career. We've now got the period where, is it 3 games without a win, but probably signs along the way that they're generating chances, and once they fall, they'll be on a good path. I see that a little bit, and I'm glad to see that, to be honest, because I'd rather that than some scrappy wins, because that's a better indicator, I think, of progress. Froz, are you seeing it?
Yeah.
Well, I think the job requires that, so that's why it's a difficult job, because typically another coach would have been brought in just to kind of continue the trajectory for whatever reason Nuno was going. But what he's done, Marinakis, has decided to bring in a coach in Ange who's going to completely change the football, but Marinakis needs results along the way as well. And that's what makes it difficult, because what happened with Spurs was when you have a pre-season, he's able to get his ideas into place very quickly, and then they start well and have great momentum in year one. Whereas here, you don't have that. So really very different assignment. So what I would say is, by the second game, you already started to see, even Swansea, you already started to see a little bit of a change. And by the third game away against Burnley, there's quite a good deal of change. And so you can see, of course, well, the player's always going to respond to it, but what it says is that, you know, with all the experience that he has now, Ange has the capability to put in place his ideas across to the players incredibly quickly, extremely quickly, which he needs to. The difference here is he's going to have to manage results along the way as well. And so how is he going to calibrate from trying to get where he wants to get, as well, we've talked about evolution of the style, as he has. He's going to have to just go step by step. The experience is critical, because what it means is he has to see in training and in games, but he has to identify who's capable of doing what I'm expecting. So you expect to see some players come from kind of left field a little bit without so much experience, but they can implement it.
Well, Douglas Luiz was straight in on the weekend. After 1 week, bang, into the starting lineup.
So he's now seeing, okay, these
team.
people are understanding it quickly, they're able to manage other people around them. So putting that puzzle together under this immense pressure, and in a club where Marinakis does not, you're not going to go 7, 8, 9, 10 games without a win. right? I'm not sure that's even possible under this guy. Like, he is...
He's not going to cop that.
Yeah, we said Olympiacos, he had 16 coaches in 14 years, right? He doesn't muck around.
This is 8.
So therefore, Ange knows that. So yeah, it's just step by step. In the game against Burnley, I saw quite a lot of changes, whether it's Zinchenko coming in and the way that he's starting to play, a lot more forward. When they lose the ball, their response is much, much better. And that's only with probably realistically 5 days training. A lot of video work, I would imagine, so that Millet and the assistant coaches is here, maybe individual, but certainly teams, because you don't have enough time on the field. So, the packed schedule is making it difficult to have time to get ideas across. They're working in a whole range of ways. I can see it, and I think we've just got to be hopeful that in the next couple of hours, Real Betis on Thursday morning is a difficult one away.
He's live blogging for it on the Herald.
Yeah. You're going to live blog
Nothing
that?
like a good live blog.
Okay, good to know.
3:30 a.m. alarm.
All right,
Come
well,
on.
I'll put that on the computer while we're watching while we're obviously watching it on Stan. But then finally, Sunderland at home, I think, is a must-win, and I think they will win.
Briefly, Vinny, how are the press pack treating him over there? Signs of distrust or signs of, oh no, we're on the Ange bus?
A combination, more leaning towards the former, I reckon. And Ange spoke about this, I think, in one of his press conferences this past week, about how there's this constant negativity that's been surrounding him since he got to the Premier League, which I personally think is a little bit rough. I would say just about the only bad season he's had in his entire coaching career.
The first one at Yokohama wasn't great, was it?
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah. Fair call. But like one bad season in Europe, let's say, and all of a sudden people are writing him off saying he's going to get Forest relegated, and he still won a major trophy in that season. I think he gets a pretty difficult ride from the media and fans as well. I understand why that's the case, because it's a results-driven business, and as soon as Forest starts stringing some wins together, it'll be back to Henry Winkler and who was it? Who else was?
It's very up and down.
Winter.
Yeah, they'll be singing his name again, and he'll be on all the TV shows talking about, well, what a breath of fresh air you are to English football.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it's true.
Your take? What he's done in a week?
There has been some changes. If you wanted this pure statistical point of view, I know they're playing against Arsenal, but in an Arsenal game, they just had over 400 passes against Burnley, over 600, so 50% more passing. Foz mentioned the fact about the inverted fullbacks. The mentality as well, that will take a little bit more time. But I still think that the biggest tests are yet to come in terms of how far they're going to go down the road before they reach that point where they say either yes, we can do it, or no, we can't, and we've got to make changes for January. We'll start to see that in the next couple of weeks. I mentioned about Betis away and Sunderland at home. Then there's Midtjylland at home. Then against your Newcastle, your Chelsea. Look, the bottom line is Ange is from Australia, okay? And when you go over there from Australia to one of the biggest leagues in the world, arguably the biggest league in the world, you can't just be just as good. You've got to be better. Two things about the press. Number one, you will have your supporters. Number two, you'll have ones split into this group of number two. The first part will be the ones that will want to basically, the proverbial, you can say, kick up the backside to make you go better. And there's a part of that group too that just don't like you no matter what you do. So we've seen all that. Vinny made the good point. He still won a trophy. And also the fact, like I said, it's a learning experience for him. No matter what he says about the past, he's had a lot of experience as a manager, but this is only his third season in the Premier League. So it would have been a very big learning experience. And the big difference is with Tottenham, Antonio Conte, as great a manager he is, I mean, he won the title with Napoli. He's ahead now of Napoli this season and was an excellent player as well. But when he was leaving Tottenham, he was one of the most unpopular managers in Tottenham's history. Played dour football, didn't win anything, and basically smashed the whole of Tottenham after that Southampton game.
On his way out.
Ange comes in, wins his first, I think, 10 out of 11 or something like that.
Unbeaten in 10, I think it was,
They were on top of the table, playing brilliant football. It was all, you know, so different story here. Nuno Espirito Santo delivered Nottingham Forest their best season in the Premier League for 30 years. Seventh, only 1 point off fifth place Champions League, FA Cup semi-final in Europe, back in Europe. So it's a little bit different. And Fozzie made a good point. This is going to be so hard by changing it, but also having to get results at the same time. Because once the results start going, regardless of who the chairman is, the pressure's going to come on that manager.
Well, Vince is certainly hoping he gets things going for a reissue of the book and get things going again over there in England.
Did you try part 2?
It went all right.
It went all right.
I mean, I haven't retired yet, but
Yet.
you know.
Just do
That's why
part
you're
2. Just do part 2.
Still to come on Added Time.
And adaptability is the mark of a genius.
This is a bit odd. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
You like it?
I know why he's done it, but I still can't believe what I'm watching.
Pep Guardiola. I saw something. Okay, he's gone to Arsenal away before and had in the 30s in terms of possession. This is not a complete outlier, but what was an outlier at a point in that game?
This is the lowest possession in his history.
It was his
career,
lowest, but he has gone to Arsenal and it's been...
Yeah, that's the second lowest.
Arsenal have had more.
But there was a point in that game in the 64th minute where Erling Haaland went back to defend and stayed there for an entire minute as a centre-back. And I was like...
Brilliant.
This is a bit odd. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
You like it?
Absolutely
Park the
brilliant.
bus.
He's, in my opinion, he's redefined football in the way that he's played since his time at Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and now at Manchester City. And what I mean by redefined football, he brought up the false nine, the goalkeeper that can play, like inverted fullbacks. Like he's set trends, and he's been successful with it. I know people turn around and say to me, flip side, like Vinny says, you know, like everything's a flip side of football. He's had the money to spend, yes, but you got to deliver. Manchester United have had the money to spend the last 10 years. They haven't exactly delivered on that type of level. And now he's showing, in my opinion, the football world, that he is adaptable. And adaptability is the mark of a genius. Because so many people copy him, and that's understandable too. We see a World Cup team, you know, I remember when Italy won in 2006, right? They played the 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-2, whatever you want to call it. And everyone started to do that. We have trends in football. And he's been such a trendsetter. And the fact that he's showing everybody now that he can cut his cloth accordingly and ask players to do things that we haven't associated with them in the past and still get a result. And was very unlucky not to win in the end because it went for so long, although Arsenal, you know, were the better team, we know that. But to show that, I think it was superb, absolutely exceptional from him. And this could be another revolution from him.
One for you, Foz. You've followed this guy's career.
By the way, I thought it was a shocker.
Close. That's what I want to ask. I want to say, if you show...
He sat there at Barcelona destroying Mourinho
That's what I want to
because
ask.
Mourinho didn't want to play, and then he talked about parking the bus, and they had the bus there, and they had this and that. And fair enough. I mean, you know, so he used to get stuck into, you know, the non-Barcelona way of playing, and I like that about him. But the fact that you've got that wealth of talent, and then you decide, you know, against the Gunners, you know, when you're leading, to go and play basically 5-5, like I can't believe it. I know why he's done it, but I still can't believe what I'm watching. You know, I think Cruyff would probably disown him, you know, like he was the baby of Cruyff, you know. And he completely redefined the game. I mean, the sweeper keeper, you know, he used to have Valdez coming out all the way. Then when he had Bayern Munich, he had Neuer doing unbelievable stuff. Changed the role of the keeper. He also won 2 World Cups, Guardiola, which people don't kind of, you know, reflect on, because it was his Barcelona team that won in 2010, and it was his Bayern Munich team that won largely in 2014 for Germany. Jogi Löw played Bayern Munich Guardiola football in the World Cup at that point, and that's because all of the Bayern Munich players knew exactly what they're doing, right? So it was incredible what he's done, but I think, you know, to get to the point now where, you know, he's done that, you know, okay, if you got Burnley, all right, fair enough. But, you know, you don't. You've got this incredible array of players. And to go backwards to do that, to try and protect a leader, what he said is that we are... I'll explain now why I think he's doing it. He said, oh, we're tired, we had a big week and blah, blah, blah. And so the thing is, what he used to do, though, is rest with the ball. That's how he changed the game.
That's exactly what I thought, because it's not like it's the first big week a Guardiola team's ever had. This is a different reaction.
Of course, yeah, in 600-plus games is the first time, from my recollection, that he's actually done this.
And it's September.
And it's September, so...
but no real pre-season.
That's true.
That's another point.
With Club World Cup and so on.
Chelsea's
That's
another
true.
point we've got to bring that up.
But it's about how they rest. So what he used to do is say, okay, let's just have more passes. I mean, at one point his Barcelona team were probably having too many. I mean, I loved it, but they had like more than 1,000 passes. So, you know, today we're kind of down to...
Did you pop some champagne when they got the 1,000? When they did? In
I used
some
to
of
love
those
it.
La Liga games?
In fact, they used to have, you know, you used to have the pass arrows. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so the Barcelona thing, I
Colouring
once
the
had
whole
a
pitch.
T-shirt with the Barcelona more than 1,000 passes. passes all the arrows, right? I mean, that was just unbelievably beautiful football. But, you know, his idea was always we keep the ball. Now, what's happened last year, and I wrote about it before this season, saying, how's he going to adapt? Because what's happened is the EPL in the last 3 seasons has actually sped up on the transitions, and that's why Liverpool are winning. So, in other words, everyone is counter-attacking much, much better.
Vertical football.
Right. Yep. And it used to be we'd go and press, win the ball high and go. Now it's like we win the ball in our half and you're in deep trouble. That's how come he went on that shocking run last year when Rodri got injured, and all of a sudden everyone's counter-attacking straight through the middle of Manchester City, remember? We watch him in the
Feyenoord game.
Yeah.
Remember? They just
exactly. Which they were winning, right? And then and they're just going bam. So they're winning it like almost on their box or in their back third, and then they're just going bam straight through Manchester City. So he's realised, and Rodri's come back, and they're still vulnerable that way. So under pressure for the first time in his career, he's gone, we can't actually control this opponent with the ball, which we would expect, or without, and therefore we're actually going to go sit back on the edge of our box. That's what he's done.
Ideology is a funny thing in football, isn't it, Vince? And like back to Andrew, we were talking about when does the ideology twist, and it twisted late last season in that run to the Europa League, and Pep's obviously seen something about his squad in their soul at this point where it's like, no, let's do this.
Yeah. It's good that you mentioned Cruyff before, because there's that famous or infamous mural on the walls of the Nunawading City Football Club in Melbourne, which has Cruyff, Pep and Ange. He was painted in like 2017, and the idea was these are coaches of a similar ilk. And then you've got Ange and Pep, probably two of the most idealistic coaches in football. Well, Pep's just parked the bus at the Emirates for the first time.
Yeah.
And Ange just won the Europa League with, evil football, so to speak, in terms of I've never seen an Ange team play in that way. And I think the circumstances were a little bit different with the
injuries,
the health
and
of the Spurs squad at that time. Yeah. But it was still no less striking to see an Ange team sit back and absorb like that. And I just wonder... and the more I read and listen, people talking about football, it seems to me that flexibility is in vogue. Adaptation is the new way.
100 million percent.
Coaches, like Thomas Frank, who's made an excellent start to Spurs, but he's getting praised for coming up with a different plan for each game, as opposed to for the past maybe 10, 15 years, it was, what is your plan and can you execute that each week?
Always evolving.
And I think this might be the new evolution.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but that's always been the case.
And he's been revolutionary. But he's been revolutionary, Pep. And this is his latest revolution, that he's going to show everybody that adaptability is a true mark of a genius and that he can do it. And the players that he's bought as well suit basically what he's trying to do as well, especially like the world-class goalkeeper, right?
Yeah.
Who's not perhaps as good as his feet as Edison was. He's not the sort of in the mode that Neuer was, or especially Victor Valdez. But he's a world-class goalkeeper, and we've seen that already. Yeah. Reinders, who's very good with spaces in front of him, so that indicates that he will play a lot on the counter. You got that Ryan Cherky, who's good in tight spaces. Doku, who can go around the player. Much more variety to what he's got.
Boz, can you imagine as those players that Pep, when he faces a bottom half opponent at the Etihad, he's not going to play that way, but at any point it's like the break glass in the case of an emergency. It's like, no, guys, flip to this straight away, and at halftime they can do it.
Well, that's going to be the trick. But if you ask any player, I mean, the one that comes to mind always for me is the 1982 Brazilian side. Played some of the most wonderful football I've ever seen at a World Cup, but ended up getting knocked out by Italy in what was then the Group 2 stage before the semi-finals. And you ask any player, they want to win first. That special night for Spurs, that will be long, long forgotten by all Spurs fans and all those players, that the way they played that night. But if you ask Son, if you ask Richarl, any of them, Ange even, what a great night that was. First time in 17 years that they won a major trophy. And that's what the players at the top level, and the top level is about. And this is something that's hard to explain, because of course you want to play attractive football, but you want to marry it with results as well. And the most important thing is your fans. Ask them.
I'm still trying to picture Pep, if you took that tape to him of the game on the weekend and you transported it back to 2009 and said, hey, pal, this is how you're going to play in 16 years in a game.
Yeah, true.
How he would have reacted.
Life comes at you fast,
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, change happens. So, yeah, it's a big... You're
right there, Boz.
Status.
But, like, I still think, trophies are trophies, but trophies won in a particular way for me stand above a normal trophy. Like
No doubt.
trophies that have a special
doubt. Well,
story behind
that's why
them,
we always harp back to
the feeling that you have when you watch those teams. Like
but that's
like
the
Barca
ultimate,
teams.
all right? That's the ultimate. That's having your cake and eat. That's the ultimate. But what I'm saying to you is, if you haven't got the weapons, i.e. the players, to do that and be successful, then it's a fool's errand. It really is.
And that's
And
why
the
you're
long
so
term.
interesting, because City do have the weapons. That's why it's so fascinating to me.
Yeah, they do against the majority of teams. But what he's made the summation is, in this period of rebuilding, that against Arsenal, he actually said at the press conference, I don't think we can go toe-to-toe with Arsenal. So he's yet to be convinced. If he did that against Burnley, if he did that against Leeds, against Wolves, I'd be raising serious eye. But the fact that he's done it against Arsenal away from home, also complaining the fact that they played midweek, but Arsenal did too. But Arsenal had an extra day to recover. You're doing it against Arsenal away, who have got the strongest squad. There's no doubt they've got the strongest squad that there is in the Premier League. Then I'm like, wow, tip my hat to you, because once again, you're staying one step ahead of the game, and you're showing that you're not going to put your own pride, if you like, ahead of the fact of what's best for the team. I tip my hat to him.
Still to come on Added Time.
So I'm going to say no, so that's offside.
That was his contribution to modern football. It's just
Onside, offside. Here we go.
Oh, here we
Some
go.
quick fire once. We're going to split it up. Vinny and I are asking the questions, you're answering them, and we have full right to hammer you if we don't agree, or you can hammer each other if you don't agree. Okay.
Gotcha.
First one, Foz, to you. Isak, Alexander Isak, or as I call him, number 14, will not start away at Crystal Palace this weekend. He won't start. Onside or offside? Agree? Disagree?
You know what? In Europe this week, I thought he was absolutely amazing. The first half was absolutely brilliant, and I looked at him and said, wow, I think he's going to have the number 9 position. I just don't know if he's physically ready yet. Ekiteke
So offside?
Offside or onside?
So I think he probably doesn't.
Flag up.
But he will. He will.
Eventually.
Oh, I reckon for sure. Brilliant player.
That's the narrative that we'll touch on in one of our bigger subjects, I reckon, going forward, about who's the first choice number 9.
Exactly.
Anyway, Boz, to you. Emi Martinez, onside or offside? Emi Martinez wanting out of Villa has derailed the squad.
So I'm going to say no, so that's offside, right?
Offside.
Yeah,
Yep.
No, not at all. No, not at all. I think what you'll find, and you'll hear about the next couple of days, there's something else going on behind the scenes. Their sporting director, Monchi, has been let go. I think it's something a little bit more deeper than that. Definitely not, because players are generally, not all players, but in general in the dressing room, players are happy for other players when they get a move that they want or so forth. He was outstanding when he come back. That told the story against Everton. And he's very much an integral part of their team. So I think the fact that he stayed in the end has lifted everybody. I think the other thing is a little bit different, because that goes to the whole heart of exactly what's going on.
I love it when Bozza thinks deeply.
It's not deeply, it's out there. Monchi's gone, so...
Yeah, no, you did behind us. Benny, over to you.
Foz, I think I know the answer to this one, but anyway.
Okay.
Kickoffs roosted out for throw-ins is a good tactic.
What did you say? Roosted?
Roosted out.
Smashed.
Rooster.
Just straight to the corner.
Roosted.
Just like, get out
You
of
love
here.
that.
Go.
Tell me.
I just can't believe that.
So offside. You did.
Yeah, I
Offside.
can't believe
I
they're
think a
doing
million
it.
miles
Luis
offside, to be
Enrique,
honest.
like that's, he's played unbelievable football, and yet that was his contribution to modern football. It's just
Did you see the Bournemouth one? The front
I
and
did,
yeah.
then not out.
it's like an up and under, and everyone run underneath it.
Put the bomb up. Nathan Cleary.
It's like,
Amazing. Sandro
Game changer.
Tonali, one of the most beautiful,
Great footballer,
cultured players, and he just stood on halfway
so they're trying
to
to
start the second
so
half
everyone's-
and just tried to kick it out of the grandstand, over the grandstand.
They're trying to
Can't believe
show everyone something. Okay?
Can't believe it.
Sorry.
40-20. Boz, Man United will beat Brentford on Saturday night.
They haven't won there since...
Onside.
Yeah, onside. So they haven't won there since 2022. Very difficult place to go, but Brentford have lost not only a lot of players, but have also lost their manager, obviously, as well. So I watched them against Fulham last week. Even though they took the lead, Fulham well deserved their victory. But Manchester United did as well. And against Chelsea, I think we're going to go for a Manchester United win.
Okay, crystal balls time. So it's just before our sleep patterns get completely pillaged here on the bottom end of the world with all this European football on Stan Sport. But Premier League goal rush this Saturday night at midnight. We go Leeds, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Brighton, Hove Albion, Manchester City, probably not going to park it against Burnley, Crystal Palace, Liverpool. What's the game with the most goals in it?
Wow. I've got to say, off the top of my head, I'll go for Chelsea, Brighton.
Okay.
Could be Manchester City, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Burnley's just going to sit back, as they always do.
Yeah.
And, and if Forest can create a number of chances, well, these guys should be able to.
It's going to be, whichever one I choose is probably going to be a 0-0 draw, I reckon, knowing my luck. But I reckon City, Burnley. Burnley have done really well to sit back in a few games, but I just have a feeling that there's an avalanche coming.
I'll go Leeds, Bournemouth.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Manchester United kicks off the weekend, of course. So, Bozza, crystal balls. What are you expecting from Lamens? Will he start?
No, he
the
won't
new
start.
keeper.
No,
he won't?
Bayendier will start. Of course he will. He played well. I know he got a lot of stick in the first game against Arsenal for the goal he conceded, but I still maintain that he was fouled, and he will get the nod between the sticks. I'd be very surprised if he makes any real major changes after last week, because I thought they were very good last week.
That's the amazing thing about Manchester United. They're 1 90-minute performance away from a complete catastrophe again.
This has been another Stan Sport production. The only place to watch the English Premier League live and on demand with 4K is on football's new home, Stan Sport. Add Stan Sport now at stan.com.au/sport.